some of the things you all are speaking to about the fight and, how to frame the fight, I think it gets us to the conversation around what do we do? And so we do have a viewer question who poses a specific question around what native land can do. So let's take a listen to that question, and then I have thoughts on it.
Good morning, Native Land Pod and Pod fans. My question is, for right now, we already know we got 4 years of this everyday spin cycle that will be the second round of the Trump administration. How can Native Land Pod help individuals understand better how to get involved with their local and state government? Because basically the feds have already said they ain't gonna fool with us. So if y'all could y'all provide some insight to help us out? Watch for the hook.
I love
Did
that
you say
question.
Watch for the hook?
Yes.
At the end, with the cues, they in the building.
Yes. Shout out to Omega Phi Fraternity Incorporated. We appreciate your question, brother. But I love that question because I like that he's focused on where can we go? What can we do? But, I get asked this question all the time. What do we do? What do we do? What do we do? This question is a little different because he's saying, okay, the federal government is going to be bulldozing ahead. What can we do at the state and local level? And as I've said many times before, a lot of these policies began at the state and local level. A lot of these shitty policies bubble up from your Republican-controlled state legislatures. These billionaires, they are smart. They are strategic. They start placing people on your school boards because that is a launching pad for them to get into Congress. They start funding campaigns as a state representative, a state senator. So some of this stuff has already happened. But this idea of, and my co-host may disagree with me, so I want to hear you guys' thoughts. This idea of somebody guide us, somebody point us in the right direction. And we can get more into this on the mini pod when it comes to our leadership. But what I've started asking people is, well, what are you doing? Because I'll say I am not an all-seeing guru where I can say, oh, okay, well, here's what you need to wake up tomorrow and do. I'll ask people, well, what is it that you care about? What is the thing that's impacting you and your family most, you and your community most? And then there's usually something you can do in that capacity. There's some sort of resource you can find. Our good sister, Jateka Edie, does the Win with Black Women call every Sunday. Where it's thousands of women from across the country organizing. That's just a step. Because some people have said to me, well, I'm not the person to bring it together. I'm the person to give me my marching orders and I go out and do it. And so my pushback, I always say this, all the people who say, if I was alive during the civil rights movement, I would have. Whatever you're doing right now is the thing you would have been doing then. Mm-hmm. If you doom scrolling through Instagram, that's what you would have been doing during the civil rights movement. If you are binge watching 12 hours of TV, that's what you would have been doing during the civil rights movement. The time is now. So when it comes to these local government, I think it's a lot easier to navigate local government. And this speaks to the example of Black folks ain't just sitting around letting something happen. It's a lot. You can get 20 of your friends at your house and have a state senator over and confront them and talk to them. Say, I got 20 people. We all got $20 each to donate to your campaign, or we ain't got nothing. We got bodies to move. I want you to come to my house and hear what we care about. You can do that at city council, school board, state rep, state senator. And even a representative from the governor's office, like make noise and be heard. So that's just my thought. But I'm curious from you guys, because I know you all get that question all the time. And what do you say when individuals ask you that?
I want to defer to Andrew, and I'm also going to add an extra layer onto this question for you, AG. You started such a tremendous organization that I don't think gets enough credit when you were at PFA, which is People for the American Way. Andrew created an entity called the Young Elected. I know. I'm about to answer my question, damn it.
I've had you there plenty of times. This is true.
I got it. The Young Elected Officials Network. And it was so powerful because they harnessed the collective energy and power of young elected officials in various capacities throughout the country. Many of them are still in elected office. Mm-hmm. Sadly, he's going to be mad that I'm going to do this, but I'm going to do it. Sadly, one of them went on to become a turncoat. That is Kristen Sinema. Kristen Sinema left, and we don't know what happened, or we pray that the Lord brings her back home to her right mind and to her better politics. But in the meantime, Andrew, I do think that things like that, where you're not only strategizing on policies that matter and that would be impactful for communities, but also what roads lead to next positions for these folks, are mission critical. can you please talk about the importance of folks being engaged and running for office themselves? Like, it's so hard to be in the game when you standing on the sidelines barking orders, but you're not there on the field.
That's real. And when you barking them, a lot of times you're not barking them to the right people.
Yeah.
So you're kicking up dust. But I will say this, because it's such a it's a good question, a profound question, and also an accessible response and answer, y'all. It is not rocket science. I know it feels that way, but you can't eat an elephant whole. You eat it piece by piece by piece. Angela earlier referenced, we all have a role to play. The first role all of us ought to play is we need to lock into our cell phone the district office number for our member of Congress and both of our United States senators. I understood the question, but I do not concede that the federal government is out of our reach simply because the Republicans are in control. That's when the right woke up. When we were in control, started turning local offices and began going after Barack Obama and the Democratic Congress on the House and the Senate side and throwing them out at the midterm elections. This is go time right now. We are not excused out of Washington, D.C. because we are the majority and they still got our money up there. And we ought to be telling them where those dollars ought to go. So lock in those numbers, because we ought to be making those calls every time the word comes down. We hear that they're doing something. Y'all, I know it sounds overplayed, but I'm telling you right now, I've been an elected official. I've been on the receiving end of what a massive response looks like and what a dull response looks like. And when the dull response comes in, I can tell you it had no impact whatsoever on the way I was going to vote on an issue, left or right, center, whatever.
Give an example,
it was a huge response. So, for instance, a zoning issue, right? A gas station wants to go in on the end of the corner of this neighborhood. The neighborhood says, we don't need no gas station. We need a grocery store. Then they organize and they start sending letters. They call my office. They left messages. We are against this. We are against this. Even if no grocery store is out there to be had right now, we believe you ought to sit on the land until there is one that is ready for us, right? And when my staff came in and said, Mayor, the phones are ringing off the hook today about this thing, I knew that I couldn't be cavalier. I had to deepen into it. I had to know what I needed to know so that however I arrived at my decision, I could explain it. It was reasoned and it could stand the test of time. So when we choose to say, oh, both my senators are Republicans, and so they're not going to hear me anyway, light that line up anyway, because their interns and their staff are going to report to them. Sir, we got a lot of calls on this. And guess what? That member of Congress is going to ask. That elected official is going to ask, hey, are we hearing much feedback from the district about such and such?
Yep. And you can call 202-224-3121 and request to speak to your U.S. House of Representatives member or your senator.
And if
you didn't catch that, Google.
Well, give it one more time.
202-224-3121. That's not how you reach Andrew, but that is how you reach your members of Congress.
That is a shuffleboard. You call it, you tell them who you want, and they'll send it. They'll patch you.
Not a shuffleboard.
What is it called? A something board.
A switchboard.
Switchboard. See, look at me. Okay. I'm not gonna list out everything at this time, y'all. But I will say, the accountability piece here, when we're out of power, quote, is everything. We cannot go silently into that good night.
Yeah.
If they are coming for us, they need to hear us in response. The other thing, it takes work, it takes effort, it takes energy. But this is our time where we need to be in our local communities registering people to vote. And not just registering them to vote, activating them around the issues in their neighborhood and in our communities that we can impact. If 10 of us went down to the City Hall meeting tonight and had a word to say, I guarantee you, your mayor and your commissioners, council members will hear you, because we don't get 10 people at a meeting on a single issue ever. And when they do show up, it's a big A deal. Okay? Yeah. So I guess I should say this. It ain't that hard, y'all. It does require some work, but everything I've said to this point is within our touch. It's within our reach.
They want us to believe that it's hard. They want us to believe that they're inaccessible, that they're untouchable.
Complicated.
Yes. Government lingo is so complicated, and it does I think there's a concerted effort to not have intelligent sounding Black folks who can actually take government lingo and make it very digestible, very accessible. The Beltway media is very incestuous, the way they talk about these things, and they don't make it very accessible to the masses. I know we have to wrap up soon because I'm excited to get to the mini pod about Angela's question.
Leaders.
And I'm really excited because we're going to have Leslie Jones on in just a few minutes. And, look, it's a lot of serious things happening in the world, but Black joy is defiance.
Yeah.
And, it's okay sometimes to have a light moment. But this is the question I want to ask you guys, because it's something that I think so many of us are struggling with. There are some who believe we're going to have to hurt for us to really, that is the thing that's going to activate people. And I am struggling with this because I do feel, I feel like, you know what, y'all got it. This is what the majority of the country voted for, or the majority of the voting population voted for. Not even that, because he didn't win the popular vote. This is what enough of y'all voted for.
Electoral.
That I want you all to feel the brunt. The challenge
is...
He
didn't win the popular vote?
He didn't win the popular vote. He didn't win the popular vote.
No.
Donald Trump, this election, didn't win the popular vote.
Did not win the popular vote. He won the electoral
Since when?
vote.
When did I miss? I remember
he
that
didn't
with
win
Hillary.
The first time either.
Yeah, he's never won the popular vote.
Clinton. He absolutely won the popular vote.
No, he did
he has
not.
Never won the popular
vote.
He has never won the popular vote.
I am trying to figure out
yes,
where
you can have a president of the United States elected by a minority of the voters.
Electoral college, but I don't.
Yeah, he has never won the popular vote.
Right.
So my point with that is the people who did want this, I'm okay with them getting hurt. Like this is what y'all got. Get it. The problem is we are going to be hurt first, and we gonna be hurt worse. And so I'm trying to figure out how to strike that balance. And there are some among us even who say, look, a lot of us are disconnected. We're despondent. We're not paying attention. We're going to have to feel that pain. And that's going to be the thing that activates us. Is there a way to activate people before we feel that pain? And I don't know how to
Tiffany,
do it.
Before. We have had enough pain to last us, our progeny, and our children's children.
Yeah.
A lifetime.
Yeah.
So we've experienced the pain, but the truth is it really does in so many ways have to travel up our street, down our block, up our driveway, into the house in order for us to see that this thing is coming apart at the seams.
We have a real quick correction from the news desk from Angela.
I have a correction. Yeah, because you guys, we can never be associated with misinformation. I know y'all is pained from this election. I was too. Y'all are incorrect, like woefully. Donald Trump received 77,301,997 votes. Kamala Harris received 75,017,626 votes. The election total in this election in 2024 was over 155 million voters. Donald Trump beat Kamala Harris by more than 2.3 million votes. So I was like, I know I'm not this crazy.
I
My
stand
memory's
corrected.
bad.
I think what I was thinking was the 2020, what was the last
2020? No, 2016, sorry.
No, 2020 and 2016, how woefully underperforming we were as voters, as the electorate. So in essence, being he had less popular vote than the 2020 or the 2016. And of course, he didn't have the popular vote in 2016. Hillary had the popular vote.
He won the popular vote by the smallest margin of any president. But yes, we are incorrect. Andrew and I were incorrect.
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute. I was like, how am I?
I still want to be obedient to
crazy.
my belief that the man is a fraud.
You can't. I'm going to tell you right now, and I might end up being more misinformation than y'all. I still am not convinced this man won this election. I don't have no proof. I just got a gut feeling. So we can
there
leave
are
it
so
at that.
many people who feel that way, and that speaks to it though, because it's almost like you would rather believe that than believe that a majority of the people in this country voted for this. And
and a majority of the people didn't, and more people stayed at home.
Right.
Who are registered. More people who are registered stayed at home. So really what we could say is neither one of them won. The couch did, which is the fear the whole time, which is sad. I didn't mean to throw off the whole conversation, but I was like, y'all can't come lie to me today.
I'm glad you corrected that. I think that's important. We should. I want to get to the conversation on leaders. And we have Leslie backstage waiting, so we want to get to her. But I just want to say, I think I hope our people do not have to feel so much pain before being activated. I hope we can start paying more attention, because I don't feel good about letting by watching my people burn. And there are people among us who are like, that's what it's going to take, because we don't know.
You said it. We feel it first and worse.
Yeah.
I hope that's wrong.
Yeah.
Because I hope it's wrong, because I feel like our people, if we stop looking at ourselves in the microcosm of the moment, our people have suffered enough.
Yes.
Like, I'm tired of the suffering. I want us to experience abundant joy, not be worried about the scarcity of resources. We shouldn't have to keep suffering to prove a point, especially a point that we're not the ones trying to make.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the thing that's so frustrating and yet beautiful in this moment is we are forced to come to terms with the fact that we are forever inextricably linked. Whether we're in the same cultural pocket, in the same, zip code, the same area code, what have you, we are inextricably linked. And so it is imperative that we begin to look out for our neighbors in the same ways that we do for ourselves, whether they are in the highest earning bracket or the lowest earning bracket. We are inextricably linked. That's just the bottom line. So
and when
we gotta
they
deal with that.
One group, they coming for you too. All these people saying, oh, well, they getting deported. Who cares? Listen, undocumented immigrants did not vote for this man. They cannot vote. They are victims of this system like a lot of other people. So I don't know.
Despite paying taxes.
Right. They are paying taxes. So,
and their cousins and them who may have voted against them, it is not a sentiment unlike many folks who immigrate to this country. They pull the ladder up behind them.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate. We can dig into that another time, because I do think it is worth a deep dive on why it is the sentiment is what it is. But the right has created all of this.
Yeah.
They want to look more right on the right, on the political right side.
I think race has created all of this. Because don't forget, I think race has created all of this. I would love to blame the right, but unfortunately, even when you listen to the rhetoric of people that we voted for, around the summertime, the rhetoric started sounding very, very conservative around the border and around immigration policy.
Yeah,
there's data behind that. So there was no uptick in migrant crime. But the right introduced this. And so as a result, members of the media and Democratic candidates mentioned the border significantly more. I don't want to give the exact percentage, but it was something like 80% more than they had. So the right is constantly driving the narrative. And that's a challenge. I know we want to bring in Leslie, and I want to get to this conversation about leaders. I'll just tell you, I think the leader of Black folks is, drum roll, you got to watch the mini pod to find out.
Drum roll.
So,
Black president.
Yeah,
you should at least let that thing breathe so it was a good team.
It's Michelle Obama.
I know. It was whack. Anyway, while Leslie getting herself together, just give y'all 2 minutes to go and vote for us on NAACP Image Awards. You can vote at NAACP.
Yes.
imageawards.net. I hope that's the right address, but find us and vote for us en masse, please. And when we come back, we will be joined by Miss Leslie Jones.
Native Land Pod is a production of iHeart Radio in partnership with Reason Choice Media. For more podcasts from iHeart Radio, visit the iHeart Radio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.